All right, so we have something called the slope formula. Again, slope is always designated by m, equals y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. Well, what does this mean? So if I'm given points, more than one, I can't just say get x or get y, because in this case I have two x's, I have two y's, so which one am I talking about? So I'm going to label them, and we use what's called sub numbers. So sub, like submarine, they go down. So I'll call this point so this is my first point and my second point. So this is x sub 1, y sub 1, x sub 2, y sub 2. If I had 15 points, I'd keep going. X sub 3, y sub 3, x sub 4, y sub 4, x sub 5, y sub 5, etc. So then if I said to you, if we had those 15 points, and I said to you, y sub 8, you would be able to go right to the exact coordinate in the 8th point and pick up the y coordinate. So this just helps us keep track of what we've got going here. So if we are given 2 points, we can find a slope using this formula. So let's do that. So we've got slope equals y sub 2, which is 4, minus y sub 1, which is 8, over x sub 2, which is 2, minus x sub 1. Now notice, this is minus minus. Negative times a negative. Because in the formula, this is x sub 2 minus x sub 1, but this is minus a minus number. So now I'm just going to keep doing the calculations. Possibly well, hopefully. This is an addition problem whose signs are different. So I subtract the small number from the big number. 8 minus 4 is 4, and keep the sign of the big number, which is negative. Here I'm going to multiply my negatives first. So negative times a negative is a positive. Let's keep going. So now I have in the denominator, this is an addition problem whose signs are the same. So I add the numbers, keep the sign, and I get this. And so I get anything over itself equals 1. Negative divided by positive is negative. So in this case, for this line, our slope is negative 1. When we are using it, we always have to turn this into a fraction. So I would have to think of it. Don't ever write it this way, except for when you're using it. But if it's a final answer, it's just this way. But if we're using it, we need to think of it as a fraction, so you can always make any whole number a fraction by putting it over 1. Now let's just look at this. If I do the other way, I just want to show you that we would get the same answer. It doesn't matter which point I decide is going to be my x sub 1 and my x sub 2. So I'll make this x sub 1, y sub 1, and this one be x sub 2, y sub 2. So m equals 8 minus 4 over negative 2 minus 2. So now we've got m equals, this is an addition problem whose signs are different. So I subtract the small number from the big number. 8 minus 4 is 4, and keep the sign of the big number, which is positive. And this is an addition problem whose signs are the same, so I add the numbers. 2 plus 2 is 4, and keep the sign, which is negative. And again, now, anything over itself equals 1, and positive divided by a negative is negative 1. So it doesn't matter which way you do it, you should get the exact same answer, because the line that these 2 points go through has a slope of negative 1 no matter what. Let's look at this example. We can use our slope formula. So x sub 1, y sub 1, x sub 2, y sub 2. So we get m equals negative 1 minus 4 over negative 3 minus 3. So m equals negative 5 over negative 3 plus 3. M equals negative 5 over 0. If you remember in our last video, 0 in the bottom means undefined. That means our line is vertical. So, something I want you to notice is that our x and our x are both exactly the same. That just means that x equals negative 3. So we don't need to do any of the work of putting it into the slope formula. We just need to recognize these are both exactly the same. That means x then equals negative 3. Oh, that is the equation of a vertical line. Here's our vertical line, and we would just put it at negative 3. If it were the y's that were exactly the same, then we'd have this same scenario only with a horizontal line. So y equals whatever that number is. So there's finding slope.